Hello there, guys. Welcome back to another episode of E&Ftv. Today is a very special one as I've got a good mate of mine on the channel, and we're talking about yachts, which we've never had on the channel before, all things commercial in that space. So without further ado, Luca, thanks so much for coming back on the show, mate.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Tom. Yeah, absolutely. Very excited to discuss with you about yachts today. Yeah, so fire any kind of questions, and I'm here hopefully to be able to talk about this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Before we get going, before we get into this episode, guys, don't forget to like this episode. Don't forget to press that subscribe button. We bring you content every single week with fantastic guests just like Luca. And to do that, we need a great community around us. So don't forget to click that subscribe button. So, Luca, what I wanted to do first off, because again, we get lots of graduates and students and people at the start of their careers that are really interested to see how leaders got to where they are now. So I suppose first off, could you give us a bit of a snapshot of your career to date and sort of how it's brought you to the role that you're in now at Travelopia?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess my career is quite Windwell. So, I've done a lot of things, and yeah, it depends how much time we have. But yeah, trying to get it in a nutshell, there are more the things that I have done than the things I haven't done in the revenue management space. I've been around for about 15 years, and
Mm.
the vast majority of my career has been in revenue management and commercial roles. So as you can tell, as I'm originally from Italy. I did
Hmm.
study in Ireland as well. Finished my studies. I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers as an internship for 6 months.
Yeah.
When you finish uni, you don't really know what you want to do. You normally try to go for these big companies, and you don't really know what the commercial world is. So obviously,
Yeah.
the finance world is so much bigger than the commercial world. And what was clear to me after 6 or 7 months of this internship is that I didn't want to be an accountant, and I wanted to be able to actually do something that had a much bigger impact on an organization that was a way more dynamic.
Sure.
And from there, I realized, for fresh graduates, probably the best way to put it is like if you think about today, whatever is happening in the past is
Hmm.
normally finance. What is happening in the future, from my point of view, is all it's all about the commercial world.
Yeah.
So after my experience in Ireland, I felt like I wanted to do something else international, and then I almost end up in pricing by chance. I was
Right.
applying for jobs, then I got a job offer in Bratislava, in Slovakia. So I moved there in 2012 to
Hmm.
join IBM. I did there 2 years as a pricing analyst.
Yeah.
And it was the first time I've actually, got in touch with the commercial world. It was a very exciting role. So I was working mainly with sales guys and solution architects to basically build up the pricing case for very big, complex, multi-year deals that could have
Yeah.
been as small as a small RFP for a server that could be only 10 or 20,000 euros, all the way up to 100 million euros of deals.
Yeah.
It was very good, gave me great exposure because I was working alongside some of our senior commercial and finance leaders. And then from there, I basically moved to the UK in 2014, and that's where I actually started my career in revenue management.
Right.
And I moved to the car rental sector. Still to this day, I think it's one of the most exciting sectors out there
Yeah.
because compared to most of the other sectors which they apply revenue management principles, there you don't have a fixed inventory, so you can move cars. Obviously have wheels. It's not like a
Mhm.
hotel
Yeah.
that you cannot move an hotel room. So obviously that opens so many different analysis you could do with around profitability and see where I can get these, let's call it RevPAR, even though it's not, but let's say it's
Yeah.
a revenue per car of this amount in this location. But if I move that in another location, I
Mm.
could actually make more money,
Yeah.
according obviously to seasonality, to different market segments, and all. So yeah, that was a very good job. So I worked for both Hertz, supporting the Spanish market, and then for enterprise rent a car,
Yeah.
supporting the mainly the UK airport market. and that really helped me to learn the fundamentals around revenue management and
Mm.
forecasting. From there, a couple of years after, I decided that I was ready for the next step, and that's when I actually kind of moved to the broader hospitality. I moved to a much smaller organization with about 100 people in Newbury, so in the
Hmm.
southwest, about an hour from Reading by car. And I stayed there for 2.5 years, and I was the first ever revenue manager for the company,
Right.
reporting to the commercial director. And I basically built up from scratch. We had our own property management system internal,
Hmm.
and I built from scratch all the forecasting tools, the pricing methodology, etc., etc. It was quite interesting because in the service apartment world, we were selling for quite long length of stays. So
Right.
our average ticket it was probably around £8,000 because our
Right.
average we were looking at mostly the sweet spot was length of stay between 40 nights and 90 nights. So a lot of
Wow.
people were staying 2 or 3 months at a time.
Yeah.
So which means you needed to negotiate quite hardly with the customers. A
Mm.
lot of those were business customers. So basically, I was literally sitting in the middle of the reservation team. So I was really working closely with the sales agents about,
Mm.
sometimes you have multiple apartments to sell. So you will look at the deal, not only in a revenue management standpoint, but literally looking at the margins and the profitability of every single deal.
Yeah.
Um, which was good. After that, basically, I moved to Malta. I
Yeah.
stayed there for 2.5 years as head of revenue management first and then of commercial after. Worked with a company that unfortunately doesn't exist anymore, which was called Azure. Azure was 50% owned by the Corinthia Group.
Yes.
And
Like much of Malta.
yeah, yeah, like much of Malta, exactly. Yeah, and Malta is the Corinthia island, absolutely. So, yeah, worked there for 2.5 years throughout COVID as well. Basically, Azure had one of the nicest inventories in Malta. So it was basically managing with the brand of Radisson Blue, but was actually Corinthia,
Right.
the Golden Sands Resort, which is one of the biggest in Malta, is in Golden Bay, which is one of the most iconic beaches. 350 rooms, all self-catering, and basically for timeshare use and hotel use. And basically, this organization, it was the biggest members organization in Malta. We had
Mm.
about 14,000 members, bulk of it from the UK, then quite a few from Sweden, Italy, and also Maltese. These members basically, they with their membership, they would have points, and they could swap points for experiences. Big part of that was obviously the resort there, but people with higher tiers, they could also go to, of course, other Corinthia properties,
Yeah.
some villas that we had in Sicily and Greece, motorhomes in the UK. So we had a deal with a motorhome company in Manchester.
Yeah.
And then as well, we had 4 yachts. So we owned 4 Sunseeker yachts in Birgu, which is the marina, which is just waterfront of Valletta. And we had as well a supercar club
Wow.
in the circuit of Castle Donington, so just very close to East Midland Airport, so not too far
Right.
from Derby. Yeah, so that was a fantastic experience because it gave me the opportunity to work for luxury goods. So obviously,
Yeah.
when it comes to revenue management for those, it's the price is way less elastic. You have to work a
Mm.
lot with marketing and promotions, which is something that really I used then later in my career in my job with Travelopia Yachts.
Yeah.
Um, so what happened there? Basically, the company decided for voluntary liquidation. So
Yeah.
Corinthia thought that the business model wasn't as profitable as it used to be, and they
Hmm.
wanted to basically shift more to their core business, which is pure hospitality rather than
Yeah.
experience clubs. So company put in a voluntary liquidation throughout COVID. We went from a couple of hundred people all the way down to only 15. They decided to keep
Wow.
me there, which was
Yeah.
great. As head of commercial, it was a tough time because I was also leading the reservation team at a certain point throughout these, about 25 people.
Mm.
And I had to make redundant the vast majority of them. A lot of them were, you know, single moms with kids as well. It was tough. It was tough.
Mm.
It wasn't great. But yeah, I was grateful that I could stay within the organization,
Yeah.
stay there with the new co. and support them to build up the systems, the processes, and the structure
Yeah.
for the organization for the following few years. What I decided then from there was actually to go back to the UK. Me and my wife at the time, we had a kid, Matteo. We wanted to take him to school there. And obviously for me, there wasn't much opportunity to grow in an organization which was only 15 people, and I was
Yeah.
reporting directly to the managing director. So I moved from there to another branch of the hospitality industry. So as commercial director, I joined Baron Eden, which is an organization that now has expanded, but at that time had only two properties. The flagship
Mm.
property was Holy Cross Hall, which is one of the most famous spas in the UK and one of the biggest in Europe.
Yeah.
It was quite interesting because we had a hotel with 100 rooms. So a lot of the revenue management there, obviously commercial director, I also was looking after marketing and procurement and sales. But when it came to revenue management specifically, we did something kind of new in the sector, which was basically applying revenue management principles to the spa treatment rooms. So
Right.
we use them literally. Imagine it's like if we had 50 treatment rooms. Each one of them, they had different slots over the day they could fill up. So imagine like
Yeah.
rooms, and you could sell them 6 times in a day, 7 times in a day. And according to that, basically, we looked at different promotions and pricing according to the time of the day, because we
Mm.
realized quite early on, looking at the occupancy, that customers were more willing to go at a specific time of the day, and they're eager to pay a premium for that. We
Right.
also adjusted, obviously, the price of the different treatments according to the skills of the therapist, because not every single
Yes.
therapist could do any kind of massage, because they need different levels of qualifications. So yeah, we did quite a lot on that space. It was quite fun. Also there, our average ticket, we were looking about £400 to £600, so quite
Mm.
expensive, especially for the Midlands. Very different than the London market. So it was a very good experience. From there, unfortunately, I've been made redundant because the organization decided that originally they created a role new for me, a new role for a managing director, new role for a general manager. But then this was because basically the ownership was 5 or 6 friends in their
Right.
60s. And they basically decided they wanted to retire, to step back, and basically don't manage that directly. And
Yeah.
then they soon realized after about a year that that's not what they wanted to do. They still wanted to be hands-on, still wanted to be involved with any kind of decisions. So decided basically to make all the senior management team redundant. And from there, I actually started my career changing again sector, and I
Mm.
moved to transport, specifically with cross-country trains, where I've
Yes.
been for about 3 years as head
Mm.
of commercial strategy. Very big role. I had 4 teams with 4 senior managers reporting to me, and in total, I had about 20 people in the office
Mm.
between revenue management, pricing, distribution. But then I also had a team, about 30 people that were doing revenue protection, which is basically all the activities to support ticket checking on the trains.
Yeah.
So it was a good leadership role, reporting to an executive director, big organization, about 2,000 people, over £500 million of revenue. And, being very blunt, as you know I am,
Mm.
revenue management in the railway, it's about 20 years behind where we are in airlines or car rental, and probably a good 10, 15 years behind compared to big hospitality brands, and
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
behind even compared to small properties. So there was a hell of a lot that we had to do in that space.
Mm.
The way they were doing things, it was quite conservative. They were, it was more like inventory management, so almost open or close. We
Yeah.
weren't really actually yielding the prices. We weren't looking at booking curves. We weren't expanding our booking horizon, so we're letting people only book 6 weeks in advance. Whereas a long distance operator cross country, quite similar to an airline, so actually, we have people that would be willing to buy tickets 3 or 6
Yeah.
months in advance.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was quite a revolution. Quite a big role. Really enjoyed the railway. Is way more complicated than you would ever could think. And
Mm.
there are a lot of things that you need to balance around when it comes to stakeholders. You have to jump on meetings with the Department for Transport, Transport Focus, the rail delivery groups, or Great Britain, British Railways. So it's a very complex environment, a lot of red tape, very difficult to bring change, and you have to balance a lot of different stakeholders. So a lot of
Yeah.
times it's not really. It took me a while to get used to that because it wasn't really about the commercial outcomes. So it's not about generating profits. A lot of that is around servicing communities and customers.
Yeah.
So yeah, after that, basically, I had a little bit of personal situation that I had to go through. Separated with my wife, and then basically she moved north. So now I'm actually living in Newcastle upon Tyne in
Yeah.
Jordan.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
different,
Not far from me.
yeah, exactly. Different country, different passport you need to come here. So yeah, I was looking for a job that actually could give me the flexibility to be around for the kids and I could work
Yeah.
mainly remotely. So that's when then I joined Travelopia about a year ago as a global head of commercial. And that's finally we get to yachts. So what do I do there? So
Yeah.
Travelopia is a relatively big organization, close to £1 billion revenue. Yachts is one of the biggest products of which generates roughly 30% of the EBIT and the
Oh
revenue.
wow.
What is Travelopia? Travelopia used to be a branch of TUI in the past, and it's more around experiential traveling. So we're looking at luxury hospitality, people that actually want to do experiences. So we're not looking at hotels. We're looking mainly, as I said, yachts, which we'll talk
Mm.
more about. Then we are the private jet company, one of the very few in the world. So
Oh
people,
wow. I didn't know that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, our average ticket there, we're looking at between 90 to $100,000 per booking.
Wow.
So these people basically they hire a private jet, then they have obviously a private consultant, which then will build up completely the package of holiday for them, including a 5-star hotel or other things.
Mm.
So very, very high, very, very high end. Then we have Exodus, which is our experiential travel. So it's more about people being organized in different groups and basically going for excursions, hiking, and this sort of stuff. Then we have Le Boat, which is another brand which was bought. It's mainly in the French market, but is across 8 different countries, and those are self-driving river boats. The river
Right.
boats we are also in the UK. It's quite an exciting brand. So
Mm.
basically, what you do, you can book your holiday a week, a few days, 2 weeks, or whatever, and you can go through the channels. One of those, as an example, in the UK, we go through the River Thames, and I
Mm-hmm.
think you can go through, Windsor and all the way to central London. I think it finishes around Kingston.
Okay.
We have a franchise in Italy as well. We have Canada, United States, Ireland, but core business is in France, which is the Canal du Midi. Not sure if I'm saying that right because I'm not French. But yeah, it's a very cool product because you don't need to have a license to drive
Yeah.
those, let's call them yachts. And it's fun, a lot of them have 4 or 5 cabins, so you can go there with friends or family, celebrate something. You have your own kitchen, you can cook, then you can
Mm.
dock, and you can go wherever you want. So you don't have to have a fixed itinerary. So that
Yes.
product is quite similar to yachts.
Yes.
Where I'm currently working now. So just a little bit more about my role. It's a global role. We sail across 20 destinations in the world in 15
Mm.
different countries. It's one of the biggest yacht companies in the world. We own our yachts. We're looking at a fleet of about 750 boats.
Right.
We're also managing the biggest yacht base in the world, which is in the British Virgin Islands in
Mm-hmm.
Tortola, where we have circa a third of our inventory. So there we also
Wow.
have a resort. We have a provisioning shop, which is a retail shop, so where you can buy food and drinks. Then we also have a resort, a small resort there, owned by us, about
All
35
right.
rooms, just waterfront to where the marina is, and a couple of bars and restaurants as well. So as head of commercial, I'm basically responsible, obviously, for the revenue for globally, but I'm
Yeah.
also responsible for the revenue management of the hotel and of the F&B. Um,
Right.
And as well, I look also after the margins of the retail shop. So I have
Sure.
actually pricing and procurement analyst, which is based in Tortola, which supports me with that. And then we have a team in Surbiton where the head office is,
Hmm.
which does mainly revenue management. And then I have another senior commercial analyst, which supports me with data.
Yeah.
So it's quite an interesting role. So when it comes to yachts, I guess what is the main difference compared to others? So I would say
Mm.
if I look at different sectors, the closest to yachts is car rental. And I'll tell you
Okay.
why.
Yeah. Yeah.
So first of all, looking at the market, we're looking at an oligopoly. So when I
Yeah.
say oligopoly, it means that there are only a few different competitors. So it's because it's quite a niche product, and that's where your pricing strategy is really based on what the competitors are actually doing.
Mm.
Namely, in this case, we have two main competitors globally, which is Dream Yacht Charters and Navigare, which are a company that roughly is the size of ours. We have two brands there with the moorings and Sunsail. The moorings is much more dominant in the United States and has been there from the 60s, where the Sunsail is a little bit
Wow.
more recent and is predominantly working on in the Meds. So yeah, oligopoly. And why car rental? Why? Because also car rental is an oligopoly. You have the Hertz group, you have the Enterprise Rent a Car group, and then you have the Avis group, which they make 70 or 80% of the global market.
Yeah.
So similar for us, but what is actually very, very similar is the fact that boats as cars could be moved. And there is a
Exactly. They
lot
can
of
be moved.
analysis.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's a lot of analysis on deployment of where the fleet should be based. Every
Mm.
single year we change the fleet. The fleet also very similar to car rental. Car rental, you change the whole fleet in a space of 2 or 3 years. For boats,
Right.
still surprisingly, is very quick as well. So our average tenure of a boat, our inventory is about only 2 years old. The boats would
Right.
stay. We have different tiers according to how new the boat is. The newest, the top tier is basically boats that are less than 1 year old. Then we
Right.
have boats that are only 2 or 3 years old, and then older boats. But there are no boats that are over 6 or 7 years old.
Right.
Surprisingly, actually, there is a lot of wear and tear because every single week we have different customers.
Sure.
And basically, a big part of what we do is the maintenance around the boats.
Mm.
A part of what we do as well is all the resale market, because what we
Right.
do, because we have a 25 years deal with a company that is manufacturing yachts in South Africa, which
All right.
at the moment Travelopia we're the third biggest yacht manufacturing company, and we basically buy all the yachts from there. It's the third biggest in the world. So we buy from them about 200 to 250 yachts a year. Which is a massive investment. So it's
Yeah.
very, very big. Obviously, we're not talking about like Sunseekers, which are very top end, more expensive, but still
Sure.
mainly doing catamarans and monohulls. Those are our main products. Monohulls is
Yeah.
only one hull. Catamarans have two hulls, so they're much
Sure.
bigger, slower for sailing though. And yes, so they basically build the product according to the specifications we need
Mm.
according to our customers. So it's super exciting. And again, these kind of yachts, especially catamarans, monohulls, you can look at 300 to 400K per yacht. Catamarans is easily from 700 to 1.3, 1.5 millions.
Wow.
We have some of those that go up to 56 feet, so they're actually quite big, 4 or 5
Yeah.
bedrooms, they're massive, 3 decks, you have a barbecue on it, you have 4
Wow.
luxury rooms, obviously you have a kitchen, you have a deck where you can take sun. I mean, anyone can go on the website and look at the product. It's
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
stunning. Obviously, what is quite interesting, average ticket price, average booking value, you're looking at about £8,000. So it's quite high.
Yeah.
They go as low as a couple of £1,000 for a week, maybe in the Meds in low season, all the
Sure.
way up to when we have crude yachts where you can have a chef, you have a skipper, you can have a hostess that, cooks and serves you. That you can go up easily to 30, 40, even $50,000 for a week.
Wow.
So it's quite interesting because obviously the elasticity of demand is not as high as hospitality, because
Yeah.
obviously we are talking about luxury goods. So a lot of what we have to do compared to any of my previous roles is working a lot with marketing on targeted promotions.
Yeah.
So the sector compared to any other sector is absolutely on dopamine for when it comes to promotion. So if you look at other competitors, there are always promotions on every single time of the year of different levels. But on average, you can always expect a 10 to 20% discount
Yeah.
on any kind of yacht. And this is how the market operates. So obviously you have to take that in consideration according to what is normally your price to go to against what you normally have a price that you have to sell at. So that's
Yeah.
quite similar to service apartments, where sometimes obviously as head of commercial we will be also involved in negotiation with big deals. Sometimes we have people booking several yachts. So, we could have a group booking easily over the 100K mark. But
Yeah.
also for smaller bookings, sometimes you need, it's about give or take. So you have to kind of, sometimes you might be able to do some stuff with ancillaries,
Mm-hmm.
give some specific discounts, flight credits, provisioning credits. So we give, free F&B average, or we give a discount on that. So there are a lot of different criteria that come to play. So yeah, it's a very exciting sector, niche,
I was going to
and
ask,
very, yeah,
compared to, because you mentioned one specific sort of industry, rail, being
yeah.
sort of behind in some aspects than your airline and hospitality and car rental and so on. Where do you think yacht sits as an industry with regards to its understanding and sophistication when it comes to revenue management? Is it in line with hospitality and airline? Is it more in line with car rental or rail? Where would you say it sits in its infancy or maturity at this stage?
It's a very good question. We're actually going through a massive change at the
Mm,
moment. So, when I joined the business, a lot of stuff was still on Excel. So
yeah.
there wasn't really dynamic pricing. We were getting priced by competitors, but a lot of that then needed to be done manually and all. But, now we're going through a massive data transformation where we started to use literally over the last few months artificial intelligence very, 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 very heavily.
Right.
But the transformation is being incredibly, we're in the middle of that, but it's incredibly fast to a point that, in a matter of weeks now, we start to have we're shifting all the data into BigQuery, and now we have a tool, artificial intelligence tool, where basically you ask them questions and all, and creates dashboards for you. So
Hmm.
we had the phase where we were doing quite a lot on Power BI, when we had dashboards for Power BI. But
Yeah.
now, basically, if I want a specific dashboard about, making an example, how Italy is performing for this year by channel, market segment, etc., etc., etc. I
Mm,
just give to AI the instructions to build it for me. Then ask a few tweaks, how I want to see if it's like, bar charts stacked or not,
mm,
curves, etc., etc., filters, and it does it for me. And it's very slick. It's game changing, and that would really allow us to have a very lean team,
mm.
which also take us to the next. To the next step is about how the role of revenue management is evolving throughout the
Yeah.
years. So we're going through the biggest change in history. So how I like to think about it, if you think about the history of humankind, there was always a revolution. Now we used to have a
Mm,
revolution, and in agricultural revolution, where people started to use animals for that, and where we had
mm,
the vast majority of people doing agriculture. Then we moved to industrial revolution. Then it was
yeah.
everyone moved to tertiary, so computers and all. Now it's almost like a fourth revolution, where actually everything is going to be done with artificial intelligence. So
Yeah.
there are what is though I found is that I feel for a fresh graduate it's going to be very difficult, not because they won't be good with the tools, but because what is very important now is in this phase is to understand, when you look at the numbers,
Mm,
if the numbers make sense. Because a lot of what Copilot does, as an example, ChatGPT, or ad hoc created artificial intelligence tools, they don't understand the data. They don't know the data nuances. They're not able to see. If you look at a glance at the number, and you will be able to straight away spot, well, this number does not make sense. Why?
sure.
And that is the ability that normally you used to have on with the revenue management director or commercial director or head of commercial, which actually could understand that. Now, the step from my point of view is very difficult from a fresh graduate to understand all these nuances. And almost they won't have that training school of actually, being grafting on Excel and create your own reports and dig through the data to actually get to that level that then you know how to interrogate that data. So that would generate, I think, a massive, massive gap.
Yeah.
The second thing I think is even more important is influencing others. So it's the leadership, is the communication, is how, revenue management is getting so much more intertwined with anything else, which is not even only sales and marketing, even operations. Where I work now for Yachts, there is a big
Yeah.
part that is around operations. So it's about being able to influence others because now, the more you move with this artificial intelligence, the more actually everyone has their own opinion. Everyone asks a question to
Yeah.
the data, and data could be easily manipulated in a way that it could tell you a story according to what you actually want to achieve. So that is paramount, and I feel of that. Unfortunately, kind of COVID generation, let's call it. A lot of these people
Mm.
that actually started their career throughout COVID or went to college and university throughout COVID is kind of took away that possibility to actually, refine your communication skills with others, doing project works and all. And that I think it's a massive skill going forward. So I do believe, yeah, for fresh graduates, it's gonna be quite tough. I
Mm.
feel somehow potentially if you look at the team structure, if up to now or a few years ago, you could have had revenue management and five analysts and, as an example, director and five analysts, five managers,
Yeah.
and we're going to move to a point where we're going to have more like heads off or directors and maybe only one or two analysts or managers because a lot of this work can be just done uh, by artificial intelligence. So
Of
these
course.
newcomers, they need to be able to not to be like business analysts as in the past where you were had to build the tools because the tools that will be built automatically. Now I don't need an expert in Power BI. I can do
No.
it myself, just asking a few things. They need to be able to interpret data. And
Yeah.
that is the biggest challenge. It's not one that you go to on LinkedIn and you do a course about how to understand data. It's one of those
Mm.
that you learn by doing. But my worry is like where are they going to get the opportunity to have that learn by doing?
Yeah.
When basically you're going to interface directly with the machine. Uh, I'm not sure how other senior leaders see this, but yeah, I think it's a very, very interesting debate.
Yeah, I think it's one of those where we're seeing the conversation. Of course, you can't go to an event, you can't go to a conference without AI being at the core of the discussion now. There's no doubt that it's there as a tool to alleviate the day-to-day menial tasks. But as you say, we're going to need those people who are able to interpret that data and be able to use that data. And there is a question mark over where does that take us next? And from a talent perspective, there is a big question mark there. And I think you're right. There's a debate in itself there, and something that I would love to explore further. There's something that you mentioned, or when we talked through your sort of start of your career and the different environments that you've worked in. You've sort of mastered the skill of being able to change industry and
Mm.
take those transferable skills with you. What do you think from your past environments, from those past, job roles? What do you think fundamentally you brought forward into yachts? Because you've had experience in many different industries, and that experience, I imagine, has come with challenges. It's come with positives. It's come with developments for you from a professional perspective. What do you think fundamentally you brought forward into your current role now within yachts?
It's a very good question. It's a hard one. I feel like everything I've been experiencing over the past 15 years made me the
Mm,
professional man that I am.
yeah,
I think probably compared to the past, especially after railway experience, I moved to a more soft approach. Before, probably I was more like a bull in a china shop. So I always wanted to get everything done straight away, and
sure.
sometimes I thought I had the answer for everything. But I think it was more about observing and learning the industry first, rather than jumping into something. And as I said, technical skills are always the same, and the beauty of it is almost like you have a suite of a lot of different skills, options that build up on every single different sector, and you can pull them in
Yeah.
accordingly. There is a lot of stuff we discussed before that's similar with car rental.
Yeah.
But then when it comes to luxury goods, I took that experience from my previous experience at Azure, Corinthia, with yachts and supercars. When it comes to working with marketing and promotions and all, we did a lot of that when I was back at Baron Eden.
Mm.
So a little bit of everything, and that's what makes the role very exciting and quite niche. So I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
it's hard, but I think a big part of that is actually I think it's also believing in yourself. I guess it's much easier when you're already done two or three different industries to say, what is one more, one more, one more.
Yeah.
And then I think from my point of view, it's quite exciting because A, entertained me, and B, I feel I have a very, very, very unique background. I don't know personally, you probably do because obviously you speak with way more professionals than I do in the revenue management world, but I haven't come across anyone that had these quirkiness in his
Sure.
experience. So many different things. But yeah, at the end of the day, all the things are very similar, sector over
Yeah.
sector. You might call it RevPAR or revenue per car, or you might call it occupancy or load factor, or ADR or yield or rate. At the end of the
Mm.
day, it's always two things. You have volumes, you have price. The two of them, they give you the
Yeah.
revenue. It's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
the reverse, and marketing will always be there, sales will always be there, and both of them will always want you to sell at a lower price. Finance will
Yeah.
always be there to try to support to protect the margins, and ops will always be there to tell you that you cannot do something. So it's always the same, just slice and dice in a different way, but it's
Yeah.
always exciting, and that's what makes commercial as a function possibly the most complex one out there,
Mm.
and definitely the one, unfortunately, where everyone has an opinion about.
Yeah.
It's always to the commercial director or to the VP of commercial. Someone will go and say, "Well, I think with the pricing we should do this and that. Well, I think we should do that in this promotion." It's never the other way around. You never see a commercial director telling the FD, "Well, actually, this P&L it doesn't really match
Yeah.
up," or saying to sales, "Actually, I don't think we should approach this in this way." It's a little bit like being the referee,
Yeah.
no one
Yeah.
actually, in football, no one actually realizes you're good. But the first person to go and they say, "Oh well, that penalty didn't exist, or he sanctioned this fault or this card and shouldn't have." So yeah, it's a tough environment, I think, but incredibly rewarding.
Yeah. So effectively, the fundamentals of revenue management and pricing are the same. It's just a different product that you're doing, right? So that's
Correct.
fundamentally what it's all about. I suppose last question to you is what do you see or what does the future hold for Travelopia, but specifically within your segment, yachts? So anything exciting going on, anything that's coming in
Yeah,
the future for you?
yeah. So we have opened a couple of new bases, which I think is very
Great.
exciting. So we're expanding. We open in Mexico, our first base. So this is a
Nice.
new country for us in La Paz, which is not on the Gulf of Mexico, but is on the other side. It's just under the peninsula of California,
Yeah,
which opens a new market. It started quite difficult to generate demand because it was new as everything, but
of
now it's
course.
really picking up very nicely. We started a new franchise with Turkey to expand our reach in the Mediterranean because so far we had only I mean, we had Croatia,
Yeah,
Italy, and Greece. So yeah, expansion of the franchise and new bases. We're potentially looking for new products. We invented the flotilla. The flotilla is basically a product where people can come and join other yachts, and altogether they will
oh,
go
okay.
for exploring different islands, and they will have
Yeah,
sometimes they have activities together like a G&T party or a dinner and all. And normally there is a lead boat where there is a host that
yeah,
supports all the people for anything more around the fun part. Engineer mechanic, which can support for the little issues that may
of
be
course.
with maintenance for the for the boat, and a very highly qualified skipper. So I
Right.
can support if there are some difficult maneuver to do in specific parts of the water and all, they could come for the rescue and support.
Mm.
So we're expanding this product with more flotillas this year. We did in Greece. We're potentially looking at that in Croatia as well and the British Virgin Islands. We're also looking to open a sailing school in the British Virgin Islands. We already have sailing school both in Croatia and Greece. Why the sailing school is important? Because what we are basically trying to do is to grow the pie. So to get new people, to get qualifications to be skippers, to be able
Hmm.
to, to save their own yachts, and then hopefully when you build up that trust and that fidelity, they will be coming back for bookings, because yachts is one of those products that owning a yacht is incredibly expensive. It's not only the price of
Sure.
owning it, and you have the berth fees, you have the maintenance and all. So owning a yacht is much more expensive than owning a Ferrari or a McLaren or a Lamborghini, from a point of view.
Sure.
Not only because of the list price, but because of the maintenance. And we're giving opportunity to all these people that could be high earners, but not incredibly rich. So
Yeah.
we're looking at people, with a salary of, let's say, 80,000, 100,000 plus to the 250, 350K mark. They could still enjoy those holidays without
Mm.
actually spending 50, 60, 70 pounds a year in maintenance of a yacht. Then in the
Yeah.
best case, they'll be able to go for only 4 weeks in a year.
Yeah, yeah, this is
So it's
it.
a win-win.
It's sort of making those experiences accessible for for anyone that's in a position to do so, right? That's what it's all about, without having, as you say, the docking fees, the maintenance fees, God knows what else what comes with owning a yacht or a catamaran or whatever it might be.
Yes.
I can't imagine what those numbers look like.
Yeah, you
But
really
yeah,
need to be filthy rich, not just rich. Yeah, this is a big, big amount. And that's why we also have an ownership program. So where we actually sell the boats, the yachts to customers, and
yeah,
then they pay to us monthly. And actually, then we take on board all the maintenance and cleaning, and also think about it almost like when you do you lease a car
yeah,
with Mazda or with
yeah, yeah.
Vauxhall.
You got
You
like a
just pay
service plan.
monthly, yeah, and you
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
service plan and everything included, and that is working wonders. And then at the end of it, they can resell the yacht through us, where we can get a little bit of commission, and we get away the headache from them, or they
Mm.
can buy it outright with the residual value. Very, very similar to how you do a car lease.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Obviously, much bigger scale, because the
I was
more
going to say much
you're
bigger.
looking at about you're looking at about 1 million per yacht, not about 30, 40K for a
Yeah,
car.
yeah. Well, Luca, I want to say a massive thank you to for taking some time out of your diary. I know you're incredibly busy. As I say, we've never had anyone come on the show from the yacht space, so it's really interesting to get your insight into that sort of specific area, but also how your experience to date has brought forward your, as I say, your skill set, your understanding of revenue management, and bringing it to, as you said, an industry that is fairly at its infancy with regards to its revenue management practices, tech, and so on. So I want to say a huge thank you to you for taking some time out to have a chat with us today.
Thanks, Tom. No, I really, really enjoyed our conversation as always. I think is it my third or fourth
I
time? I'm not
think
sure. I'm
so.
not
I
counting.
think so. And looking forward to having you again with us in the future. Guys, I want to say a massive thank you to all of you for tuning into this week's episode. As I said at the start, we try and bring you content every single week with fantastic guests just like Luca. So please don't forget to click that subscribe button, as we need a growing community around us. Let us know your thoughts in the comments section down below, and don't forget to like the video. Thanks so much for tuning into this week's episode, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.